All right. Thank you all so much for joining us for our August STC Florida chapter meeting, which is going to be a recap of this year's STC Summit. We're going to be first doing a bit of a welcome from the Florida chapter with me, and then our presenters are going to be covering some memories from the STC Summit, their experience and advice, and some specific presentations that they attended. So first off, welcome. I'm really glad you're here. My name is Bethany Aguad. I think everyone knows me, but for the purpose of the recording, I am the president of the STC Florida chapter. We have these educational programs every month on different topics. So I hope we'll be seeing you again at future meetings, but thank you for being here today. Just a reminder that we're a chapter of the Society for Technical Communication. So when we talk about the STC Summit, that is the Society for Technical Communications International Summit that's held annually. Some years it has been held online due to the pandemic, but it was back in person this year. So that's what we're going to be hearing about. But for us, we are the Florida chapter, so we have programming every month for our Florida chapter members, though we are always happy to have people joining us from further away, as distant as California in this very meeting. So thank you all for being here for that. I did want to mention something that we have shared through Memo to Members, our newsletter. This was put together by Julia Southwick based on our our annual leadership retreat. We have a proposed slate of meetings for the chapter year. So we have the dates and months for those topics. We're already pursuing presenters for several of those. So we wanted to make sure that you were able to see kind of what's going to be coming ahead, what's slated for this chapter year as we, plan our meetings for each month. So I will actually, if I can ask Julie, would you be willing to share the link to that article? I should have asked you for that sooner, just so
Sure,
if
let me
anyone
get
wants to
that.
review it. Okay, thank you. So the link will be in the chat for that. All right, and before we get to the actual presenters, just a few announcements. We are looking for presenters for our September chapter meeting, which is going to be like tips and tricks for tools and TechCom. That's a lot of T words as I'm saying it all out loud. We might work on rebranding the exact title of the event. So we're looking for people who you're an expert in any particular application used every day and you have something you would like to share. I know we already have someone doing Madcap Flare, and I volunteered to do Snagit because I love Snagit, which is well documented on these meetings. So if you are interested, I will give you the link if you'd like to sign up to be a panelist. And yeah, that'll be on September 22nd. So we put out this call for panelists through the end of this month. So you have some time to think about it if you might be interested. I also want to put on here that we're looking for a couple of committee chairs. So people to handle employment and recognitions. Employment chairs send out notifications of job postings, just like the one that's below on the slide from our contacts in STC. And we're also looking for recognitions. That's someone to help manage awards and other sort of recognitions for our chapter members. So if those things sound interesting to you, please do let me know. You're welcome to email me at president@stcflorida.com. I will put that in the florida.org. I will put that in the chat. The next thing I was going to mention is a job opportunity with Vertex from our own Lori Corbett, who's here tonight. Yeah.
From Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So Lori, would you want to share a little bit about the position?
Yeah, I'm just about to put the link in the chat. Opening. There you go. There's the link.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fully remote position. We used to go into the office and most of us were there, but now we have several people who are remote, like in Boston, Minneapolis, and somewhere in Texas. So remote is the way. We have a 5-story building that nobody's in. They had us all move out. But the tools that we use, in case you're interested, are Author It, Snag It. We produce for this position, the production is to something called Zoom In, which is an HTML format online application. I don't use Zoom In, so because what I'm working on doesn't do that. But it's a lot of computer stuff. It's a little bit about taxes, but you don't need to know about taxes. And it's technical writing. And Author It is not hard to learn. It's an interesting tool with a lot of styles and stuff that we have really good trainers to train on how to do it. I know when I went to work there 7 years ago, I had attended one webinar author it, and that was it. And I was up and running in a few weeks. So it was.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing, Lori. Does anyone have any questions for Lori about that position? All right. Well, thank you, Lori, for sharing that job. Hopefully you'll get some really great applicants, or hopefully you'll get, not just an overwhelming flood of applicants. So that might be
That's
the
okay.
case.
And if you sign up and if you want to, apply for it and it all works out, I get a bonus. So
Let's get Lori her referral bonus. Everyone, this is the goal. It's the perfect combination. Someone gets a job, Lori gets a bonus. All right. Thank you, Lori, for sharing. So the last thing I want to mention, I know we're going over the STC Summit, which is a wonderful conference that takes place every year, but another conference that's coming up that is available virtually, so all of us can attend, is Spectrum, which is hosted by the Rochester chapter of STC. So that's going to be held online from September 11th and 12th. So they have all day programs. There's some speakers there. Their names you might recognize. I believe John's giving a presentation for Spectrum. Among some other
yeah,
great
you're right there. You can't look to the side. You're right there.
So registration for that event is only $25, which covers your 2 days.
Bethany, are you sure about that? Somebody else told me that's for students. For regular members, it's 50.
Let me double check. So I'll grab the event link. So maybe that is starting for students. But even so, it's very reasonable.
Yeah, it's reasonable, but I just want to be accurate.
Yeah, no, thank you for letting me double check. I think maybe they said starting at 25, which might be right because that's the student rate. Sorry, I'm pulling up their link. And also I'll put the link in the chat to the event. There you go. $50 for STC members, $40 for Rochester chapter members, and $25 for students and retirees. So highly recommended. I went to the program last year. This year's theme is communication by design, unleashing the power of design and technical communication. And I think there's gonna be a lot of great presentations. And I think if you're not able to attend for every single program, they do send out recordings as well, since I know sometimes it's hard to make a 2-day event. But yeah, if you were watching this program, like really, I want to go to a conference and get some of that taste of that experience, there's an option for you.
Well, not only that, if you want to go to this event, there may be a couple that are done at the same time, and you'll get the recording for the other, and you want to go to the 2 that are at the same time, you'll get the recording for the other one.
Yeah,
Easy
absolutely.
peasy.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of great content, so I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so getting into tonight, we have our presenters. I'm gonna let them each do a brief introduction. I know some of the names and faces might be familiar to you, but first up, we've got John. If you don't mind introducing yourself, just who you are, graduation date, where you work, and your STC experience.
Sure. So, yeah, I see a lot of familiar faces, but my name is John. I am recent graduate from VCF, just graduated this spring with a degree in technical communication. And I've been involved in STC for a good few years now and done volunteering in a few different areas and been active in the Florida chapter. And yeah, and now I am in the professional world. So started working recently, full-time technical writing at L3Harris, which has been good. So that's a bit about me.
All right, thanks, John. And I've been saying Zach. Should I be saying Zachary? Preferences?
I'm really fine with either.
Okay.
But yeah, hey everybody, I'm Zachary. I'm a current student at UCF studying anthropology. I'm pretty new to STC. I joined FTC last fall and fortunately got really involved and got to go to the summit, which was amazing. But my main experience that I like to talk about in relation to technical communication is a research position I hold with a lab at the University of Central Florida, the Socio-Technical Interaction Research Lab, which got me exposed to user experience, especially in a research context. So that's a little bit about me. Oh, and I'm graduating December.
Yeah, congratulations, right around the corner. All right, and Sarah.
Hi. So yeah, I just graduated in May. Let's go.
Congratulations.
I also just started a job 3 weeks in, technical writing at a civil engineering company. So contracts and permitting. It's actually more interesting than I thought it would be. I know more about water pipes than I wanted to. And I joined STC earlier this year, so I haven't been in it for too long. So really my only formal experience was this conference, but I feel like it was probably the best way to jump into things. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. So I think without further ado, you guys are just jumping right in and you tell me when you want me to advance slides. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
All right. So I think we're starting with some memories of the summit. You ready for me to hit the next slide?
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, so we just wanted to, so throughout the presentation, we're going to be sharing some memories and then jumping into specific recaps of events that we went to. But first, we did want to talk about what the trip was like and just a lot of the high moments of when we were there. And so we'll each be hopping in at each section of these memories. So what did our trip look like? It was our first time, well, it was the club's first time going to the summit for a few years now, but we had just the interest in going. We were all like throughout the year, throughout the school year, we had been looking into it and seeing who might be interested in going. And of course, just we got a good group going as the fall and spring rolled around. And eventually, once we got the group who, we all said we wanted to go, we were interested, we want to make the most of the summit, we started doing fundraising. And that took a few forms. We applied for funding through UCF, and we put up a GoFundMe too, which we had so many generous people donate to it. Like we're super thankful for that. And a few other ways of fundraising, which made the trip possible. And at the end of the day, it was 5 of us who went, 5 students from UCF. So there's me, Zach, Sarah, and Caitlin and Camilo, who were also our attendees, and each members of FTC from UCF. So we all went as a collective group of the FTC squad, and it was super fun. So Zach or Sarah, you want to hop in?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize how much of this was really John really pushing us to go and keeping us on track, setting up a lot of the fundraising. And like John said, the fundraising was a blast. Just like blew us away how many people were donating through our GoFundMe, as well as how many people were buying books from us on our book sale on campus. It was just like really awesome to see how many people are willing to support students. But yeah, I really enjoyed the trip. It was life-changing. I'd never gone to a conference like that before. And just the amount of people I met that come from similar backgrounds, educational backgrounds as my own, was just really inspiring for me. But Sarah, if you want to say anything, if there's anything left.
Yeah, basic stuff. But really glad that we got to go, and when we were in the process of going, that was a whole thing too. Our flight got delayed, but everyone was really nice, even though we were a day late. All things considered, anything that could have gone wrong kind of did, but it was still a fantastic experience. We met so many great people, and I would do it again. I would. John?
Yeah, I mean, I think you all covered just so many of the parts that made it great. Yeah, it was really like a life-changing trip. And oh yeah, so we were there for, we just show up a day late, but the first day was mostly networking, and we got to experience the bulk of the conference, which was presentations and volunteering, and also just some time to explore the city at the end or have socials, things like that. So overall, it was a really great time. And the next slides, we're gonna just show some collages of pictures from when we were there. So yeah, these are some pictures from when we were going, when we were at the airport, when we were on the way there, what the hotel looked like. Lots of great times. And yeah, how did you two feel about just the whole going experience?
Like you said, it probably would have been better if we didn't have a flight delay, but you know, that's going on a lot, just in general. So can understand that. But yeah, it was really strange to be there ready to go to Chicago, and then driving back home, the flight offered to keep us in like a hotel after the flight was canceled, after we stayed in line for a very long time.
Oh my God.
But it was like the next flight was at night, the following day. So we ended up just taking an Uber back to campus and leaving the next day. But yeah, it was very relieving to finally get to the hotel. There's a image of the hotel right there on the right. It was breathtaking, probably the nicest hotel I've ever been in.
Yeah, probably.
This is the shout out to the Hyatt. High
Yes.
quality hotel.
It was such a great hotel.
Was that in Atlanta?
Oh, it was in Chicago.
Oh
Or-
God. Okay,
But
sorry.
it
There's
just
a Hyatt in
it looks
Atlanta
just like
that-
the one in Atlanta. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're like
okay.
identical.
That's where I
So
was
it's like
oh
a-
my God.
In open atrium, because I saw a lot of vines there.
Kind of. It looked outdoors, but it was all like indoors. Like it was
Yeah,
like a hollow
Gotcha.
center.
they had plants on every level, which was that was cool.
It was something out of a movie for sure. It was
Yeah.
just like very
Yeah.
very breathtaking.
Mhm. And Zach was ready with the pictures and the photography. Lots of great shots.
Oh yeah, there's a feature-length film coming out of our time at the STC Summit.
Yeah.
A lot of footage taken on phones, but you'll definitely hear about it.
Yeah, and yeah, here's pictures of all the networking we were able to do and some of the events we were able to go to, and yeah, that one in the middle was fun. But yeah, we got to take a lot of good group photos as our group, meet fellow students, meet presenters and different leaders in STC too, and they were all super friendly, super welcoming. Between ones that we had seen before, ones that were new, it was all like really great networking experiences.
And
And-
congratulations once again there, John, on your award last year.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, Zach and I got to take a group picture with it, pointing and excited.
John
was
trying
gonna say,
really hard not to
John-
bag.
Yeah.
John's trying to take that sign home with him.
Yeah. Well, I got I think like the group suggested it, and then I was like, maybe I could, but maybe we should have gone through with it. Maybe.
I still have one at my house if Orlando welcomes you to the STC Summit.
Oh, I love that. Should have taken it. But yeah, how about you, Zach and Sarah?
Kind
Go
of.
ahead.
Oh, sorry. Kind of the same stuff. When I first got there, I was making a list of everybody that I had met, and I still have it. And everybody was so nice. I can't get over it. As writers, everybody's pretty shy, and I was worried about the small talk, but there wasn't a single person there that honestly I was afraid to talk to. So that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, I agree. And this slide here is just some photos of when we got to explore Chicago, either after the workshops were over for the day or the last day that we were in Chicago. But yeah, just a lot of great times. Unfortunately, there's no cheese on the pizza. I don't know what's up with.
Chicago pizza, no cheese. Where is it?
Where could it be?
Where's the cheese?
Who knows? We'll never know. It was good though.
Is it
underneath the
underneath
sauce?
it or something?
Who knows?
In New York, in Queens, my sister ordered an upside down pizza, and I was just waiting. What could that possibly be? Like, how do they put the goop on the bottom of the box? Whatever. All it meant was that they put the cheese under the sauce.
Ah,
It's delicious. So I was like,
I
oh my God, they have that in Chicago too.
Yeah, the flavor just it all melts together. But yeah, cheese under the sauce. All right, so next we've got experience and advice. We're gonna hop into the presentations that we went to, and we got to go to a lot. We're just gonna highlight a couple of we're gonna like go into depth into a couple each.
Yeah. So as you all know, we were volunteers at the summit, so we were assigned to many different workshops throughout each of the 2 days. Here's a list of the workshops that I volunteered for. It was fun, you know. I would like keep track of you know, the time for the presenter, take a lot of pictures for the presenter, just be their assistant if they ever needed anything. But I really enjoyed all of the workshops that I got to attend, and it was nice to have that experience. You can go to the next slide.
And yeah, same with me. So we were each student volunteers, and so I also helped out.
Okay, sorry, we were getting an echo for a second. I think we're okay now,
Oh,
though.
Sorry, that might be me.
Sorry.
oh, good. But yeah, same with me. We're all volunteers, so I also got the chance to help out at a few different events throughout the conference. And I definitely enjoyed each of them. I enjoyed the opportunity to help out the presenters and also give reason to explore a lot of different, explore and attend a lot of different presentations throughout the conference. And also great networking opportunity, just getting to talk to the speakers, help them out, chat with them afterward. Lots of fun. And in between too, I was also helping out at places like the registration desk, just general volunteer activities, which were also good. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed all the presentations. And next slide, please.
And these are my events. And I honestly liked all the ones that I went to as well. The first day, I was working the welcome desk, which was also a great way to meet people. And then after that, I was pretty much in and out of presentations. And I met a lot of great speakers. I learned, if I was taking notes too, if I wasn't taking notes, I wouldn't be able to remember anything, but I had a whole mini notebook filled after all of these. It was really awesome. But next slide.
So we're just going to get into detailing a couple of our favorite workshops each. So a little background for this. Like I mentioned earlier, I hold a research position at UCF. My honors thesis is a competitive usability evaluation. So going to this workshop, which was International UX Insights, Usability Testing, International Office Websites and US universities, it was really inspiring for me because I was in the process of designing my study. The presenters were both PhD candidates from Texas Tech University, Meili Das and Jiaxin Zhang. It was basically a case study, just detailing their usability evaluation, which they completed as part of their degree program. Just some specifics about that. There are about 900,000 international students in the US. And basically that enticed them to want to understand how do these international students go through these websites, and are there any kind of friction points for them that are making it much harder for them. Some specific things they were looking at is how quickly and accurately could they like book an appointment with their advisor to talk about classes, or even just locate specific materials that are crucial for them to have. They ended up coming out with numerous usability issues, which I didn't list here just because there were so many, but like I said, it was just really inspiring for me and has set me on a path for my thesis. So you can go to the next slide.
So here's one that I went to. It was by Eva Miranda from the STC Rocky Mountain chapter. She presented the key is community, building a documentation community. So it was less so TechCom oriented, but focused on TechCom groups, leadership, communities, and how groups of technical communicators can engage with content for the better. And in short, she talked about how businesses can build communities around, build communities of their customers, of coworkers, in places like Slack or other chat platforms or web platforms, how they can do that and why they should do that, for a number of reasons. Because at her company, Bevy, she talked about certain values that they use when it comes to engaging with customers, and some of those involve heavily just the community aspect, just finding opportunities for customers to chat with each other, to engage with content, have conversations about it, share links and resources with each other, and really just keep the community alive in between whatever product or item they release or whatever, just in between everything that the business does, just keeping the community active. And she talked about a few key points. One is that community interaction benefits businesses and customers alike, because when she does it and her company does it, she's found that when they push out content, if it's on a place like Slack, for example, and the customers and the coworkers and everybody's there ready to engage with it, people stay engaged. They start having conversations about TechCom or related fields. They get to know each other and just share knowledge organically. And it kind of it elevates the content from just being the content to something that people talk about and create really valuable discourse about. And she also talked about a few specific models that our company uses. Like one is the Spaces model, business strategy, which is support, product ideation, acquisition, content, engagement, and success. And in a presentation, she went deeper into each of those. But in short, it's a business strategy where you establish a community, and especially on the business side, when you're constantly in conversation with your coworkers and thinking with the end user in mind, not just from a sense that they're going to read it, but in a sense that you want to have conversations about it. You want them to, you want to just encourage them to keep on finding ways to your other content. It really is a good business value because people will keep coming back when they're feeling more engaged. And the other point was that how to build a community. She had a few points. One was establishing the community's purpose and goals came first. And then from there, items like start small and then grow, then promote. And the people who work at the business should be the first to put content on the place like Slack. They should constantly be putting resources on it, and they should hype it up, because eventually a business should want an online community to kind of be a place that lives on its own, where there's enough people there and enough people excited talking about TechCom and the business that, you know, conversations just happen naturally. And she also added another tip right there, the 7 P's of community, which are purpose, people, place, participation, policy, promotion, and performance. And each of those just things to keep in mind when you're trying to create a group of people who like your business and want to stick with it, building that into a community. And yeah, then all in all, the last point was just organic connections between businesses and customers go a long way. So I really enjoyed this. She talked about a lot of different things, and it was interesting how it wasn't directly tied to just like TechCom and documentation, but she talked about just how valuable it is to, you know, be part of a community of technical communicators. So I definitely value that, because I mean, I definitely enjoy my time in TechCom community. So it was nice hearing about how she and her company does that. But yeah, and next slide, please.
You're muted, Sarah.
Sorry, thank you. I would have never noticed. One of the ones that I went to was Hot or Not, Industry Trends from the Breakdown Lane by Pam Nerolt. And she's had a variety of jobs. She's an information architect with over 20 years of experience. So she had plenty to teach us. So she, broke down the industry trends, what's hot, what's popular and what's not, more like what's moving out, you really don't need to be that familiar with anymore. So first point, the hottest trends had to do with streamlining content discoverability. And that's, information architecture, she had plenty to say about that. So organization to enable content discoverability. So that's taxonomy, a faceted search, all of these things will definitely help yourself, but also help your customers, anyone using your content. Because if things are easier to find, they make you feel better and people are more likely to come back. She had a lot of really great examples on companies in the real world that utilized these things and had amazing results because of it. And it's really simple to implement too. And getting into it is hard, but once it's there, it's amazing. So the second point is creating better user experiences. Like I said, when people have an easier time, they're gonna come back to you. And then the third point was embracing automation and virtual assistants. And this is what a lot of people in the talk, weren't really, they were worried about because it involved AI and digital writing assistants. Some people have had bad experience with AI like Alexa, but there are some good AI versions out there, digital writing assistants like Grammarly, which have a lot of positive effects for you. So these are things that are becoming more popular and we should embrace, whether it's on a sideline thing, but it's definitely something to start thinking about. And so not a lot of people in the talk, after she would introduce the topic, who uses these things in their day-to-day, and not a lot of people had their hands raised. But she gave us a lot of statistics, but that these things are gaining popularity and they are worth getting familiar with. Companies are moving towards these things. I'm sure everybody still uses Word, but eventually, there's better ways to organize your files and to organize content. You don't necessarily have to rely on that. So her big takeaway was to get out of your comfort zone, whether you're jumping into one of these industry trends or something else that wasn't mentioned. You really just got to get out there and you got to learn new things. It's going to help you personally, help you in your career. It's important to just not stay in the same place. So I think she really drove home that message well. But yeah. So next slide.
So this is another workshop I attended, UX Writer Touchpoints and for accessibility and search engine optimization by Joe Walensky. I just want to say I actually attended a lot of workshops that were focused on accessibility for users on a full spectrum of ability, and it was really something I hadn't thought a ton about before, but it's like really ingrained now and I'm always thinking about it. Oh, that's cool. I had no idea that Joe presented at a STC FTC meeting. That's cool. But just basic overview is that accessibility supports the full spectrum of abilities, can foster more inclusive content, and contributes directly to search engine optimization, which he went in a lot of detail in with the different areas that contribute to search engine optimization. But just some examples he gave that were really helpful for me, just not coming from the education background of technical communication. Just thinking about how a person who is blind relies on content designers' descriptions of images, for example, so that their assistive devices, such as screen readers, can really give them an idea of what's on this page. Also, for instance, if a deaf colleague, their experience of video is tremendously enhanced by closed captions, either through manual or automated processes, which we see everywhere these days. I mean, we're all on streaming services and YouTube, and there's always closed captions, which is great. Another example was just somebody with limited mobility due to a condition such as cerebral palsy can move much easier through a site if the content levels are tagged for interpretation by these assistive devices. So these were all very important things for me and kind of gave me a different outlook. But the key takeaway is that it is the content designer's duty to ensure content is tailored towards accessibility for the full spectrum of human abilities. If you want a scan of the full presentation, which goes in depth to how this affects search engine optimization, you can scan this QR code, which will take you directly to his presentation. But overall, really enjoyed it. Very helpful.
So here's one of the other presentations that I went to, which was Documentation Philosophy, Building a Collaborative Team Through Vulnerability by Jeff Scatini. And so in this presentation, Jeff talked about also the community aspect of things, but also more so when it comes to being a manager on a team of other technical communicators, how he navigates that, tips that he's picked up from his career, and kind of how he differentiates management versus leadership, because one is more about, just administrating things, where the other is leading a group of, like individuals, of people with different backgrounds and things that they've learned throughout their career. And so he made a few different points, and it was a fun presentation too. He brought in his personal experiences, and as you can see, he loved using animal pictures, but also with the kind of point that, like groups are essentially community-based things, and people should be looking out for each other on a team, kind of like packs of, just like groups or even like animals do. You see it all the time. Like people are better when they're grouped up, and he made the point that we should always be learning from each other, and that ties into his point about management and leadership are distinct yet important, because he said that sometimes he can forget to relate to the human side of things, or just the human side of his team, when he's just thinking about management. Like, how do we deliver this content? How do we meet this deadline? How do we do all these things in a high stress environment? But he said that if he does that too much, it ends up hurting his team, because, it's more like everyone, like he's forgetting about everyone in the process of, what strengths can they lend to the team. More so, he's just looking at, the content. So he said that kind of like the title of the presentation, he always tries to bring it back to being a vulnerable leader. And that ties into leadership, of how he really tries to dig into leadership in the sense that he wants to be sure that he's addressing his team's needs, seeing if there's areas that he can help them in individually, if they have any weak points or things they're struggling with, if they have any great points and things that he can hand off to them to do individually. He definitely tries to keep a balance between the two, because while delivering the content and doing the work is important, he also tries to make sure that he's, being a good leader and establishing a community within his team at the same time. And one point that I really liked that he said was lead from the middle. And that means when he wants to lead, he tries to learn from his team, share what he knows, admit what he doesn't know, and be vulnerable and communicative. And also just mentoring his team and being mentored by other people. But all in all, just making it a learning experience, and also being sure that you act on your strong points, but don't try to show, or don't try to act like you're, even though you're a manager, that you know everything that can come your way. And he says that when he tells that to himself, it lets other team members, pour into him with knowledge and experience and all sorts of things that he may not have, like even little things that he may not have picked up at his own time in his career. Because as a manager, he says that if you're not constantly, like trying to hear everyone out, and you're constantly trying to act like you're, that you know every challenge and know the solution to everything, then you're losing out on learning opportunities from everyone around you. And one of the last points he made was to take care of your leaders too. He emphasized that if you're a leader of a group, or if you're in a management position, or even like community leader position, think of the long term of how others can benefit from you if you treat management and leadership as things that should coexist, and that you try to help out your leaders however you can. If you're just a good leader, that's going to benefit your coworkers, but also it benefits you in the long run too, because he says that when he emphasizes to himself to be a good leader and to help out his employees, and help them grow too, for the long term, then they end up, he said, evangelizing for him and his company after they might leave the company. Because even if they leave, they might tell other people, oh, I loved working for this company, I loved working for him, he taught me a lot and it was a good experience. So just when it comes to leadership, he just said think of the long term, because when he treats his employees well and does good leadership, it pays off both for him and for them. And so a lot of good points about just being a manager and being a leader, but also learning from others too, in a TechCom environment. So really good presentation. I enjoyed it. And next slide, please.
And then the other presentation that I went to was Content Strategy as a Disruptor, Launching a New Product in a Crowded Marketplace by Cynthia Gelper. And this was really interesting. So she explained how to implement storytelling into content creation. So the beginning of her presentation focused on what a content disruptor was. And it sounds negative, but it's not really something, it's not meant to be negative. It's something that changes an industry, but also works to improve it. So she gave examples of, well-known examples. Amazon disrupted book selling before they disrupted everything, as she said. Netflix disrupted movies and television and how stories were told. And then they even disrupted the way that people consumed content, because now binge watching is certainly a popular thing. And Match.com disrupted dating, online dating. They really set that off. So content disruption it's not meant to be a bad thing, but it is a big thing, kind of. So her first point was that a good story can make any industry exciting. I jumped ahead of myself. So she focused on storytelling. That was how she brought content disruption. That's how she contextualized it, was through storytelling. So then, a good story can make any industry exciting. So whether that's architecture, even if you're selling health insurance, if you tell it in the form of a story, it'll be more exciting, more engaging, and you'll be able to get more effective results through that. So it's focusing on what you're doing, how you're doing, and why it's important to the people that you're doing it for, and telling all of that in the form of a story. So her second point was, in order to do this, is to think of the content for the story like a map, because that can help with organization, help keep your audience engaged, and help them navigate the content, the story, you know, beginning, middle, end. So if they know exactly how to follow what you're presenting them, you know, there's going to be less problems that way. So then her third point was having strong goals. This is the key to everything. And this goes more into to developing the story. So if you're jumping into the middle of a project, you're the content strategist, you're jumping in the middle of the project, most everything's already been done, but it's not that effective. Try and lead your team into harnessing the same goal, and that'll be the best thing to have things go smoothly. She described it as having a North Star to guide you. So your goals for what you want to do and how you want to do it, have that be your North Star, and everything will be pretty smooth after that. So yeah, then her key takeaway is that storytelling is an effective way to engage all aspects of a business, not just the marketing perspective, but the audience engagement perspective, and then even within the company itself, project management and all that. Having a good story to tell can help tie everything together. And I thought that was really cool.
Sorry, I assume next slide. Is that good?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
that's okay. Just want to check.
So yeah, we can segue into just some of the takeaways we had of the conference overall. And one, we have a few, but one was that we appreciate all of our donors because we fundraised in a few different ways, like we mentioned earlier, through GoFundMe, which had so many people just pour into that because the way it started was we got funding, we got some funding through UCF, but because we had just a big group and also just big plans to, you know, go to Chicago for this conference and stay for several days and everything like that, ended up costing, or the cost came to a lot, and UCF funded us, but it didn't cover the full amount. And so we set up a fundraiser. We're thinking, okay, we'll just, you know, get enough to just offset the cost a little bit. We'll pay for the rest. And then over time, we just saw, you know, donation after donation come in, especially from from STC Florida, like a lot of you and others in STC, and we had some family and friends and people from everywhere coming in to donate. So it was really great. We had some moments where we were in our group chat whenever a donation came in, and we were like, "Wait, they donated what?" And we were all hyped about it. And so really great, and there's so much generosity. Like we did not expect to be able to, you know, reach our goal and get fully funded for what ended up being a big and ambitious trip, but we made it, and it kind of like paves the way for, you know, hopefully future groups to get motivated. Like, you know, it's possible. Just we have a great community. We had a lot of support, to go for it. So yeah, that was a really great experience. But yeah, Zach and Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely agree with you on that. It was like every donation we got was just like huge serotonin rush. Like it was insane, and really nice that people wanted to support us, and it's definitely will inspire me when my time comes to support other people that are coming up. But also with the book sale, I mean, I think we had it like choose your own like price, like donation style. And we had quite a bit of people that like, it was kind of like $1 for a book, but some people would, you know, drop a $20 bill for like just a little old book. And it was really nice.
Yeah, I think we were incredibly lucky the way that everything worked out. Everyone put a lot of work in. I mean, John, seriously, thank you for coordinating a lot of it. It was the longest Google Doc we had for trying to get everything that we needed, prices and things not to forget. But it all worked out. And so, yeah, so thank you, John, and to our supporters, because we really, truly could not have done this without you.
Yeah, so networking was obviously a huge part of this conference. John and I collaborated on putting a sort of business card together before the conference, probably like a few days before we left or so. But it ended up working out really well. As you can see, we have this QR code here, and it would direct to our link tree for FTC. But yeah, they got passed out everywhere. We even had Dr. Liz Herman shout us out on the activity feed, and which was really awesome. She was there for a workshop that I was helping facilitate, a resume review workshop, and at the end I gave her my card. But yeah, and everybody seemed really, really impressed with our networking skills, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I'll say I didn't have a lot of networking experience before this, but the business cards definitely helped. Zach put those together, and it was an awesome idea. I still have some, and I went to a job interview. It's the only business card I've ever had, but I think this kind of helped me because I gave it to the guy's contact information, and then we started talking about FTC and STC. So definitely worth it. But yeah, definitely a great conversation starter for sure. The networking was definitely the best part of this.
Yeah, the networking was yeah, my favorite part of it too. And just to add, yeah, the business cards, they were a great conversation starter. And yeah, Zach was on point with handing them out, and just everything that was nice that we got the shout out. But yeah, super great after a conversation, just be like, so we have business cards, here you go. So yeah, just super fun. Networking was definitely a highlight. So yeah, some of the key takeaways, some more, are just the amount of learning opportunities. We went to a lot of presentation. Each of us had a lot of times during the day where we volunteered at presentations, helping out the presenters and everything like that. But at the same time, it wasn't a super taxing thing. So we had the chance to enjoy, like pretty much fully enjoy each of the places that we volunteered at, and in our free time just to attend ones that caught our attention too. We could just free roam and visit different presentation rooms. So lots of opportunities to learn from presenters and just visit different rooms talking about all sorts of topics in TechCom and around TechCom, and hear from great keynote speakers too. Like on the last day, there was a really great keynote speaker who closed off the conference, and of course there was an opening one too, where everybody went to the main conference hall to hear it. And so yeah, lots and lots of learning opportunities and great presenters to listen to.
Yeah, I agree. I think the last keynote speaker, she was my favorite. That was really engaging. That was really good.
Agreed. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we can all agree on this from the trip. Fly Spirit Airlines with caution. It was definitely an experience. Yeah, that first day was rough, gotta admit. We were hyped. We'd been building up for months. We're like, we got the funding, we got the plan, we got everything like lined up in a document, every detail planned out. We're going to Chicago, and then the flight gets delayed by like a day. So, we were like okay on the outside. Well, for the most part, we were like there, but we were like, okay, tomorrow. We had hope because we were like, if it gets canceled once, it can get canceled again. And we were like nervous, but we made it. On the inside, we were struggling a little bit, but we had our hope. But yeah, be careful. Be careful if you need to get somewhere quick. The airlines can mess with that. They can definitely mess with you.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So is there anything that you want to say to prepare us before I click this link? Because I don't actually know what this is. So you could be Rick rolling me and I wouldn't know.
Take out your headphones.
Anything I should know, or I just show it, whatever.
What do y'all think?
It might just be a little loud. You may want to lower your volume. So.
Okay, here, actually, let me stop screen sharing. I'll check the volume real quick, and then I'll be right back. Just because I think my YouTube volume might be really high.
You all have such naughty grins on your faces. I'm so curious to know what it is now.
Oh, it's a YouTube short. Okay. All right, everyone. I think the volume's okay, so we're gonna hope for the best. All right. One moment, please. Make sure I can still see everybody. Okay. All right, I'm gonna refresh, and then hopefully the volume sounds all right for you guys. Let me know.
The best Chicago style pizza.
Where's the cheese?
It's under the sauce.
There's no cheese on it.
It's under the sauce.
Like, I'm Italian and this is hurting me.
It's from Chicago.
But it's just
The
sauce.
cheese is under the sauce.
That's not enough cheese.
Cheese is under the sauce.
It's not enough. It's under the sauce.
The best Chicago style pizza.
But anyways, whenever we were like, we have to get Chicago style pizza, and this reel or it was funny, and it was immediately what I thought of when our pizza got out to us.
Like, where's the cheese?
All right.
Yeah.
Quick pause. Lori, did you want to share now before we go to final thoughts? Oh, she's putting headphones on. Hey, Lori, can you hear me? She's on mute.
Let me just try to do something really quick here. Is it okay if everybody listens to me for a few minutes, under 5 minutes?
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay, great. Okay, thank you. Well, I have met some of you at the Summit Conference, so it's great to see you again. I am the chair of STC's Community Affairs Committee, and let me just briefly explain what that is. I'll break it down here. Community means chapters and special interest groups like STC Florida, student chapters, geographical chapters, communities of practice, communities of interest. So every one of those is categorized as a community. Affairs, now that's kind of a big umbrella term, but it actually means anything that involves supporting communities' efforts to grow, rebuild, improve their processes, gain members, anything that can strengthen or enhance the community. That's what the Community Affairs Committee's focus is. Now, committee this is a committee that is chartered by STC under their bylaws. The president of STC appoints a chair for this committee every year, and I am that person this year. So what we do is we work with communities to support all of their goals and efforts, help them work through challenges, and just be a resource for them and a bridge between the community operations and the community goals and STC and their goals. So we operate, now the chair kind of sets the theme, so the committee's, the CAC's focus kind of changes from year to year, but within the general principles that I talked about. And this year we're gonna work under 5 guiding principles that I will be communicating with the committee. Listen, respond, educate, engage, and recognize. So listen means that everyone on the Community Affairs Committee will listen to the community, what the community needs, what their challenges are, where they need support and help, where they need to grow their membership. And by listening, we want to make sure that our ears are always open and that our focus is hearing what they say and not just staying silent and preparing our own response. So listen is just an incredible aspect of our success in the CAC. Respond means, well, it does no good to listen if you don't respond. But by responding, we want them, community leaders, to know that we really and truly heard them. So if someone mentions something about a community, like we don't have enough volunteers, we might lose our treasurer, things like that, those are examples of things they might bring to the CSC. Or how do I do this? We don't just say, oh, gee, I'm not sure, I'll get back to you, have a nice day. No, we take the time to understand the problem or the challenge or the goal and make sure that they get a response that they can take away that works somehow with them. And if we can't really help them, or if STC can't help them, if there's something else they need to do as an alternative solution, then we will be honest with them and let them know. So respond. Educate. Now that is helping community leaders learn how to maximize their volunteers, how to grow as a community, how to reach out to the greater technical communication community and, find more members, help educate technical communicators about the value of this organization, of STC, and being part of a chapter or a special interest group. So educate. Engage. We want members of STC to be fully engaged with STC and with their community. We want people to see themselves as possible volunteers and, hey, even leaders, because you can learn about leadership, not only in a chapter or SIG, but leadership in general that you can apply to work and your personal life. So we want to think that we draw enough interest and we express enough care for people to have them want to engage with one another and with us for questions or challenges or support. Recognize. Now this is, many communities have recognition programs. STC has some outstanding recognition programs. The Community Affairs Committee stands to support communities in getting recognition programs up and running, getting members interested in them, educating, STC membership about the society level recognition programs that are available, like the Distinguished Community Service Award, fellow, associate fellow, and my guess is that the three of you are going to be excellent candidates for these honors once you get a few years in. So, there are a lot of ways to be recognized, both on the professional level and for students. So part of the CAC's goal is to help further that education process. Now the committee is structured. Each committee is appointed by the chair every year. Some members who have served on the CAC, such as John, return to serve again, and we're thrilled to be having John again this year. So we're going to be focused on webinars and programs for educational purposes, membership, engagement and development, leadership, training, succession, and best practice improvement, mentoring, how to get communities started in a mentoring program, and how thinking about mentoring. Of course, students are always looking to be mentored, and they are the biggest audience for mentoring, but there are many, many ways to mentor. People can mentor their peers, communities can mentor communities, so there are all kinds of opportunities to mentor. So we're going to be exploring some of those opportunities and helping communities think in new ways about mentoring. So we're really excited. We hope as you continue your STC membership in the coming year that you'll hear, more about us, from us, and that we can somehow touch your STC life and help you. So thanks for listening.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
All right. Any final thoughts from our presenters?
Well,
Not
I
that
just-
I can. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to thank the three of you for your very detailed and interesting perspectives on your attendance at Summit. And I'm really glad you were able to attend. And, you know, I'm looking forward to listening to the recording again.
Oh, thank you, Lori. Yeah, I'm glad we could do this and that we had the opportunity to. We went to had a lot of great experiences, went to a lot of great presentations. So yeah, very happy we could do this.
All right. Well, you guys up for some Q&A?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. We're gonna ask you hard-hitting questions about specific like presentations you attended and the presenter names. It's like a quiz. I'm just kidding. I actually have a question. So the first time I went to an STC summit, I went to a presentation that like kind of changed the direction for my career a little bit. I'd always thought I wanted to be an editor, but I went to a session on structured authoring and content reuse, and that really excited me. I was like, this makes sense. Take content and make it into chunks of information that you can use in a structured way. And I thought that's what I want to do when I, you know, am graduating and getting out into the workforce. So I was curious if there was anything that came up for you guys that, you know, has been something that sort of like flipped a switch where you're like, that's something I'm really excited about maybe doing in the future.
Not for me at least, but I definitely did have some aha moments, at least that I was in the right place. I've always been interested in proposal writing and stuff like that. So I kind of switched some presentations when I was volunteering too. I tried to go to talks specifically for that, but some of those aha moments came from the presentations about disability and inclusion and stuff like that. Things I had never really thought about before or didn't really know how to incorporate in my writing. So not that it changed my direction, but I think it definitely, there were some moments that definitely changed how I would approach my writing.
Yeah, that's great to hear. John or Zachary, do you have anything?
For me, I feel like I feel similar similar to Sarah, where there were some aha moments and definitely some high points in the presentation. And I feel like a couple of them did kind of sharpen, at least thinking on it now, kind of sharpened where I can see myself going. Especially the ones that I highlighted, Eva's about community and Jeff's about leadership and management. I feel like those are really good, and I loved hearing them talk about how it's part of their jobs, managing those communities and you know, working with other people, collaboration, things like that. So I definitely think those were helpful in making me think like I definitely enjoy working in team environments and maybe as like in like program management or like community management, things like that. Seeing how those are also, you know, just as valuable and you know, like tech com companies. It had me thinking like, oh, those seem interesting. Like I liked what they were doing, and I'm thinking could always be something that I could do at some point too. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, John.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of you. Like I mentioned earlier, especially all the workshops on accessibility and inclusion really stuck out to me just because I haven't really had any formal education on that before. I'm not sure how it'll affect me moving forward, but we'll see.
We'll check back to this recording 5, 10 years, and you'll be like, ah, yes, that's where it all started. I see Jessica has a hand raised. So I assume that means you have a question, Jessica. You are on mute.
No, it does. I'm really trying to be better at cutting people off. I never mean to. I just get excited. I was like,
Wait, you're trying
I
to get
will
better
raise-
at cutting people
No,
off?
no, I've already mastered that skill, Bethany. I'm trying not to do it.
No, go ahead.
but,
You're doing
I
great.
I would raise my hand. But I'm so glad you guys mentioned accessibility, because that was the way that it was presented was the one thing that fascinated me the most, because I've had some intense experience with accessibility, and Nancy and I have actually had this debate / complaint about it, which is that, okay, I'm going to use the framework that my boss actually came up with this, and I thought he's really right, that in the 3D world, the changes that we made to like parking lots, stores, to accommodate, maybe let's say, I don't want to say disabled, I don't want to use the wrong word, but people who need those tools have benefited us all. Wider parking spots, wider aisles, we've all benefited from those changes. Is disabled the right word? Okay, good. But one of the things that I noticed, the deeper I went into accessibility, was it's not the same thing online, because a lot of the changes that you make to accommodate a screen reader or something like that just make your content really hard to look at for if you don't have a visual disability or hearing impaired. I mean, I redid entire topics to get rid of the tables and to do things in a certain way, and I just thought this is really unreadable for a sighted person. And my company sort of relaxed its standards, and I went right back to the tables, and because screen readers hate tables. And I don't know, I would just love to hear somebody, my boss and I we were fantasizing about the time when the changes we make for accessibility online will benefit everybody the same way like the real world ones have. Real world, online world is the real world, but you know what I mean, physical spaces. So I'd love to know how he merged those, because that was the big sticky point. Is that you sort of, when you look at if you meet the AAA standard for accessibility, it's really hard to digest as a person who is fully sighted, the right word. It just, you sort of look at it and say, this is one step above a notepad document. And so we were always longing. I've always been longing for ways to merge those two and make what's good for disabled people good for everybody. But it was hard to do. So I was fascinated. I don't know if that's a question. I'd love if any of you remember, and I know it's hard, how he mentioned, it being good for everybody. Gosh, I'd love to know more about that.
I don't remember that presentation specifically, but there was one, and I can't tell you the name, I'm sorry, but there was one about making PDFs more accessible and the tools and software that are available for that. And it kind of seems like a no-brainer now, like now that I know about it. But I've definitely been trying to implement more of that. Pretty much all I make are PDFs now, memos and contracts and permits and due diligence. So I just do Word and PDFs all day, but I try to chunk the information so that it's more, I figured if I can't read it, then someone who, whose vision is definitely not as good would not be able to. So it just needs to be easy enough to understand kind of at a glance. That's kind of what I took away from that. But yeah, I agree with everything you said, that it's definitely something that we should maybe work harder to try and incorporate. But no, it wasn't a question, but it was everything you said was good.
Yeah, and what I just realized as you were talking, it's really the screen reader technology.
Mm-hmm.
That, and this is something my boss and I found out, that it's lagging behind the web by at least a decade, and for a web, that's like 30 years. So I mean, it's sort of, and the code conformity there's back end code checks that you need to do. And that's also about 10 years behind the web. So it just is, I think it's, we need to be cognizant of it, but I would really love to see, gosh, wouldn't it be great if like an Elon Musk said, you know what, I need to develop better screen readers and and come up with better ways for, the adaptive technology. Because that was always our challenge. We said, well, some of these standards went away 10 years ago for a reason, but we're sort of bringing them back. And yeah, I'm going to look that up. I'm going to look that guy up when I watch the replay. I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Or just maybe even just responses. I did see lots of nodding at various points throughout the presentation. Anything anyone wants to share that resonated with them?
I just wanted to thank the students, the FTC. Y'all did great, and this was the return to a type of meeting that we've had. We used to have pretty much every year, that was started by Dan Voss. And years ago, when we would meet physically, as the legend goes, he put an actual wash line, like a where you hang your clothes across the room, and people would point at the signs and say, I want to hear about that, and I want to hear about that. So this was a great alternative virtual way of doing this, and just wanted to thank the students. It was great. WC or Lori, do you have any wash line memories?
Well, for me, the
So we got two Loris. We've got Lori Corbett and Lori Meyer. I believe you're referring to Lori
sorry.
Corbett.
Yeah, Lori Corbett.
Oh, sorry.
I did that since I was president.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I remember those days well, vividly. We used to meet at in person and have a meal and all kinds of good stuff. But the wash line, yeah, that was Dan Voss's idea. It was great.
It was really an interesting experience. Whoops, am I still muted?
No, you're good.
We hear you.
There, okay. Actually, it originated from a presentation. I think it was a keynote speaker at one of the conferences, and he worked for Hallmark Cards.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And he talked about the business culture. For example, they'd have spontaneous birthday parties where you'd wear party hats, and of course the artists were particularly reluctant to go, apparently, and regarded as mandatory fun. But what he had done, brilliantly enough, was strung a clothesline across the stage and had a series of 5-minute topics. And we were able to present or to pick maybe about a third of them. And each one had a story about particular growth in his life or whatever. Dan wisely appropriated the concept. And for about 20 years, the Orlando chapter usually has started off August with a remembrance of the summit by being able to summarize for those who couldn't attend the things that struck us most. For a while, we tried the everybody prepares and let the audience pick. It's progressed more to, rather than cap the information flow, to try to expand it and not hit certain favorite topics. I do miss those days, though. I mean, not only the wash line format, but getting together to share the spontaneity of it.
And so many balloons, right? Fighting over the colors.
Yeah, Dan always over-engineered a few things.
No, it would be really, really elaborate themes, and Dan would always wear a costume.
I remember the costume. Maybe he started that later.
I remember hats, which I guess does qualify as a
Mhm.
costume. We can try to dig up some archival photos. I do remember the balloon venue colors being a thing, and I think I always wanted blue balloons and never got them. They were always claimed ahead. So yeah, it was a great event. I'm really glad that we're having sort of a new iteration of that people were able to present and those were able to join. So yeah, I was super grateful for you guys presenting. You get active member points for this. So WC is here and your attendance has been duly logged. Yeah, and I know it takes some courage, right, to step up and do a presentation. But we're going to
Great job.
record and put on the chapter website, and you guys did a wonderful job and shared a lot with us who couldn't go this year. So it gave us a little, sampler of the summit. I did see we have a question of confirming, yes, the next summit is in Atlanta. So for those of us who couldn't go last year, it's a little closer to home for those who are in Florida. So it's also a beautiful hotel. So yeah, hopefully more of us will be able to attend next year. And
Close
share
enough
more
to go to
information.
Class Spirit.
Who has a van?
Who has a
WC, get on it. We've got to get a van.
You about to say Spirit Airlines too risky. We've seen.
I was gonna say, if you thought that trip was bad, guys, wait, let's all road trip up there.
Yeah, I did text John like, have a safe flight. And John texts back very nicely like, well, some bad news. So I go, Delta or bust. I've never flown Delta to go just to Atlanta. I'm always going somewhere else, Alex.
It's a
I've done that
very,
before.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very convenient city. As I mentioned, I've been to Dragon Con, which is in that Hyatt, which is why I said, was that Atlanta? Because
Yep.
I've had many a late night in there. But it's very easy. The Atlanta airport is enormous, but they have a tram that runs through it. So, and then they have public transportation that goes from the airport right to the Peachtree Center stop, which is like 2 blocks from the Hyatt. So you totally can do it without a car.
2 blocks, I believe it's uphill.
Yes, and then there's the big hill. Yeah.
Yeah, Jessica, you're much more rosy about it. I've gone to the summit in Atlanta and I was like, I'm gonna drive next time.
Well, the
But
thing
then you're
about
stuck-
Atlanta is there are no straight streets.
Yes, and then
That's
you have
okay.
to park, and
A
then you
lot
have
of
to
us-
park.
We live in Florida, or people, but at UCF, we lived in Orlando. The bar's low. Atlanta's just dense.
Oh yeah, I lived in Charlotte for years, and we used to drive to Atlanta. And I swear every year we'd be like, I'm flying next time. I don't care if it's 2 hours away, because then you'd have to park and you'd go find like my car. Somebody else parked it and it would be like at almost a 45-degree angle to the curb, like because there was nowhere to park. That's always the challenge. It's a big city, but it's not, it was almost impossible to park. So once I figured out you could fly and it was simple, I was very happy.
Yeah. So we've got just a few minutes left. Are there any other questions?
Lori has her hand raised.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Lori. Lori, what would you like to ask or add?
I'm not asking, I'm just making an announcement. WC probably knows this. I will be in Florida the week of January 8th. And I would love to go out to dinner with a bunch of you guys. I usually go with WC, but we would like to have other company too.
You're opening, you're expanding.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Lori. We've got time to plan. This is
Yes,
still a ways
that's
off.
why I said it's that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And if we're going to just general stuff, there's something that I usually plug that I don't think we had a slide for.
You're so right, Julia. But now it's a surprise at the end. Thanks for catching me. I forgot to put that on our announcement slide.
It's okay.
I think probably for Lori, we could have a special administrative council meeting in January.
There you go.
Past president and past board member.
But yes, Julia, what your request?
You have articles. I run Memo to Members, our newsletter. Please send them to me. I'm sending my ideas page. So if you don't know what to write, you can get ideas in the chat. It also has the contact email for you.
All right. Thank you, Julia. And thank you for being on top of that. So
Yep.
we've got a minute left. Is there anyone else who had something to ask our esteemed panelists, our presenters?
Oh, I was going to mention it's not a question again, sorry, but when the conversation came up with going from Word to PDF and it's not great for online, that's why my company is going to Zoom In. And Zoom In is an HTML output. The challenge is that they're having trouble figuring out how to make it restricted to only certain users. And the product that I work on is restricted, so I'm still stuck in PDF land. But Zoom In is something to look into and see what the heck it is.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Lori.
ZOOMIN.
I was gonna mention one thing. Before John went, he asked for tips and tricks, and I told him get invited to the good parties. And I heard you got invited to a party, so that was on their summit checklist. You didn't put that in
Yep.
the slides, though. I assume it was a wild and crazy time.
Not oh, it was super wild, a bunch of technical communicators.
Oh yeah,
as
yeah,
as
wild
crazy as
bunch.
we are. Very crazy.
I'm picturing a room full of knitters.
Um,
There's so many technical
Yeah,
communicators.
the first time I went to it was for those who know Bernard Ashwanden's party. And John Hedke was there and he was giving out stickers and I was like, this is an amazing party. I've gotten multiple free stickers. So that's sort of about the level.
Yeah. We
I
did get
did
a lot of
attend
stickers
one.
at the
You did get a
at
lot
the
of stickers?
conference.
Yes.
From Jack Molisani, actually. He was handing out a bunch of LavaCon stickers. Let me see if I have one. I'm pretty sure I have.
Nice.
But,
Very nice.
but yeah, lots of little summit merch to go around. He was pretty much like, oh, I think it was when me and Caitlin were passing by. He's like, oh, hey guys, you want some free stuff? And it was like the end of the day. He just gave us tons of stickers and neck beads. Here we go. It was
Oh yeah, sorry, we didn't do a haul, like a summit haul part of the presentation with
Yeah,
all your
John
swag.
John Hedke used to do back when Twitter was a new thing. John Hedke used to do like a Twitter party.
Yeah,
That was
that sounds
like,
right.
Before
my goodness.
Before it was cool.
Yeah, the first summit I ever went to was in Las Vegas. I think it was 2006. And I'm just sorry because and you youngins, you're gonna go through this. Everything was on Twitter, and I didn't know where anything was. And they're like, "You're not checking Twitter," and I was like, what? What's Twitter?" And it was like you were just not cool if you didn't know what Twitter was and you didn't know how to follow all the updates. And now I think, God, that there was an actual time where that was the case. So you'll know you've crossed the threshold, guys, when you get to that point. And it's, yes, that with Slack, exactly. There's going to be some technology that comes out that everyone will be doing, and you'll just feel like an idiot, and then you'll know you're of a certain age. Even though,
Yeah.
as we talked earlier, Bethany, it doesn't really matter because you relive the same year over and over again.
Just new things. So we are past our 8:30 time. I'm gonna say thank you so much to Sarah, Zachary, and John. You all did a wonderful wonderful presentation. Get a virtual round of applause. I know it's much quieter, but it's still equally heartfelt. You did an outstanding job, and we really appreciate it. And feel free to put this, as something you've accomplished. You want a LinkedIn recommendation for it? Let me know. And start building up all that work you're doing, especially as you're, moving further into your careers. So thank you all so much.
yeah.